Hey, folks, and welcome back to Glenn and Adrian's Rock Talk. That's Adrian.
And that's Glenn.
And today we return to Love Bites with a song called The Final Collision, which comes from their show in Tokyo last year for The Thin Line Between Love and Hate, a tour that they've been embarking on all of last year, and perhaps they're still doing it, I'm not sure. But always interesting to hear their shows in Tokyo. They tend to be in a bigger venue, which is nice. And we were recommended this particular version because it starts off with Miyako playing piano again, and she's always impressive on the piano. She can play extremely difficult pieces of music and then just walk over, pick up her electric guitar, and then blow our minds that way as well. She's incredible multi-instrumentalist, always entertaining, as is the band. So The Final Collision came off Clockwork Immortality, which is an album that we have nearly seen everything on. This is one of the ones we haven't seen yet, but we've got nearly the whole album under our belts. We definitely want to check this. Adrian, any thoughts ahead? You've seen Miyako play piano before.
Yes. I'm looking forward to hearing this. It's going to start with Miyako on the piano, and at some point or another, the rest of the band is going to suddenly jump in.
Yeah.
That's what I hope happens anyway. That's what usually happens with them.
It's generally how it goes. It's a good thing. All right. Let's go ahead, check it out, and we will discuss afterwards.
All right.
Interesting track there, Adrian. What were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was pretty interesting as well. It doesn't seem quite as frantic as they usually are. It's at least in the beginning, Asami is singing a much lower register than usual. Mm-hmm. Also, just something about the rhythm. The drums are very straightforward. I don't hear a machine gun or jackhammer galloping at all. Just Haruna is playing flawlessly, though, of course.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it is a slower one. It's funny. It almost felt like they were in first gear. I'm looking at Haruna and she's almost like, oh, I can do way more than this. Come on, guys. So, but she didn't, which was good. This was a song that was written by Miho, the previous bass player. So, which is kind of interesting because she was the one that really liked the new wave of British heavy metal sound. That brought us a lot of Iron Maiden sounds. Of course, this is quite different from that. Yeah, there's still some components, but it's a different beast, especially with the intro that we heard Miyako perform in there, which I thought was quite nice. But the whole thing seemed to have kind of a slower feel. That's true, than most Love Bites songs. I note that it is number 8 out of 10 songs on the album. Maybe it was just a matter of, they were pacing the album and they wanted something like that before they come to the big finishes, because the next songs are We the United and Epilogue, which I seem to recall are a bit speedier than this, both of them. So, but it is a slightly different feel. I liked it. I did, but it was a change of pace. So definitely enjoyed that. This album, by the way, some people have said it might be the greatest metal album ever recorded by an all-woman group. And we have heard practically the whole thing at this point, and I wouldn't necessarily argue with that point of view. There's plenty that we haven't heard yet, that I haven't heard yet, but I am very impressed with the work they were doing at this point.
It kind of went as I thought it would, when you mentioned classical piano, it started with that, and then, of course, it builds up a little bit, but then, of course, the rest of the band jumps in, That's what Love Bites always does after playing classical piano.
Yeah. And it wouldn't have surprised me if they had suddenly sped it up towards the end of the song, but I think just in terms of how they were building the album, they may have purposely not done that for this particular song. Just based on the placement within the record, the track list, But regardless, I enjoyed the song, and I do feel like I have to listen to the whole album someday, uninterrupted, just to see what it's like. Folks, if you find something that seems to be missing from our Love Bites playlist, by all means, mention it below, and we'll see if we can find a version, to feature on the channel. And in the meantime, let us know what you thought about this particular performance and how you would rate it against the album version or earlier live versions. And if you have other suggestions, of course, leave those. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you enjoyed our presentation, please subscribe. Don't forget, we have a second channel, Modern Rock Talk, where we put interview reviews now, and I've got quite a number up for Love Bites. In the meantime, thanks so much for joining us here, and we'll catch you on the next one, all right? Take care, folks.
See you all later.